To the U.S. now, Donald Trump is facing one of the darkest days of his presidency. Congress is poised to certify Joe Biden's White House victory, and the Democrats are on track to take control of the Senate with a pair of stunning upset victories in Georgia. The Democrats' Reverend Raphael Warnock has defeated Republican incumbent Kelly Loeffler in the Georgia Senate polls. Warnock officially becomes the first black Democrat to be elected in the Senate in the South. Meanwhile, the race between Republican David Perdue, whose Senate term came to an end on Sunday, and his Democratic rival Jon Ossoff is set to be close, with thousands of votes still to be counted. To discuss some of the key areas that the results will impact, we are now joined by John Stremlau, Honorary Professor of International Relations at Wits University. Thank you very much, Professor, for your time. Now, what exactly do the results in Georgia, how will they affect the presidency of President-elect Joe Biden in the legislature?
Well, it's very because it allows him to set the agenda for the Senate, because Kamala Harris will have the tie-breaking vote. It'll be a 50-50 split. But I don't want to lose sight of the fact that Joe Biden is going to be the next 46th president because of black voters. They saved his candidacy in South Carolina. They saved his electoral college victory by turning out in huge numbers in industrial cities across the swing states, the sort of contested states like Georgia. And now, in turning out so heavily for Reverend Warnock and Jon Ossoff, but for Reverend Warnock, they've delivered the Senate to Joe Biden. So if Joe Biden wants to acknowledge this and indeed reach out to Africa on such issues as vaccine availability or climate change, the two of the stories you mentioned, this is the opportunity, and I'm really heartened by this development.
Now, what would an overall majority of the Democrats mean in terms of economic recovery?
Well, the objectives of Biden are many, and he's got a very ambitious infrastructure project that would have a foreign policy dimension to it. And be supportive of trade, but making sure that it's more green-oriented. And he could get that through the Congress now. The Congress, the representatives are Democrat majority, but in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader, has frustrated Barack Obama enormously and been an abettor of Donald Trump's worst instincts. And by the way, the new mix of the Senate will be much more international, I think, than we've seen before, and that will be all to the good. And it really does mean that he can control the agenda for the Senate and get legislation through and get his cabinet appointments through much easier. So once again, I stress that the African Americans in Georgia really did deliver for him.
Should South Africans care about Senate House and how the votes are going between the Democrats and the Republicans? Should we care, and does it affect South Africa and the rest of the continent in terms of trade and other important things?
Well, it certainly makes Biden's rhetoric about the need for closer cooperation, especially with democracies, and the leading democracy in Africa is South Africa. And I'm so glad that he called Cyril Ramaphosa on the 17th of November. And I really think that there will be a predisposition to look for win-win opportunities, a partnership. Now, I realize that South Africa's agenda may be different, but just on the vaccine issue, so Pierre Trudeau, or Prime Minister Trudeau in Canada, is talking about getting some surpluses. America is going to have surpluses, and why not work with the allies, the developed countries, to make sure that Africa gets the vaccines available and at affordable prices that they need beyond COVAX. And so in the immediate question of the pandemic and the immediate question of climate change, Joe Biden is going to mainstream climate change. Those are huge issues for Africa, and I think he'll be predisposed to try to be helpful, and that certainly was not the case with Donald Trump.
Now, Reverend Warnock has been known for his sermons about gay rights, telling black churches, for instance, to support gay rights. What does his win mean in terms of the LGBTQI community trusting the Democrats and President-elect Joe Biden even more?
Well, it's certainly a positive sign, but, you know, one senator is not going to make a revolution. On the other hand, Warnock is a protege of Martin Luther King. He was preaching at Ebenezer Baptist Church. I lived in Georgia when I was not in South Africa, my last residence, so I voted for Warnock twice in this election and Ossoff. But I think that really the possibilities are here for Warnock to be a symbol as well as substantive on a whole host of issues, of which LGBT is one, of a progressive agenda to make America look more like the pluralistic, diverse country that it's becoming, and not an ethnic nationalist country as Donald Trump tried to make it over in the last 4 years. So white supremacy in America is on the wane, and it'll accelerate with the likes of Reverend Dr. Senator now Warnock, Raphael Warnock in the U.S. Senate. It's a huge historic precedent for Georgia, which is a very conservative and historically a very segregated, apartheid-like state.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Let's leave it there. John Stremlau, Honorary Professor of International Relations at Wits University.